Let's go! Yeah! For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. Come on! This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TNOSS Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Knock. I'm back again with another great show for you. Jam-packed, a lot of special guests today. I got defensive line coach Justin Cromas from Wisconsin Lutheran College football. He'll be on the phone with me talking about the WLC Warriors and their 4-2 record and how they're getting ready for a big matchup against conference foe, the defending conference champion, Benedictine University Eagles. So I got that for you. Charlie Mathews will be coming in to talk to me about postseason baseball as the Tigers swept the New York Yankees last night, and the Cardinals look to end the Giants' postseason tonight at Busch Stadium as they have a 3-1 lead going into Game 5 tonight. I have a lot more of the guests discussing college football. We're discussing NBA season previews, and then we're discussing some of the state of the Browns and the San Diego Chargers from their debacle on Monday night. I got some input on that and what we can expect from the Chargers for the rest of the season. But first, I would like to bring in my friend and former college coach, Justin Cromas. Justin, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Cromas, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you with you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, buddy.
All right, Justin, I want to get to it. What are the current state of the Warriors? How are you guys practicing? Are there any big injuries to the team so far?
I wouldn't say that we have any substantial big injuries right now. We got a couple minor setbacks. On the defensive line, guys are a little banged up with Dane Perlick and Josh Gordon, but they're both expected to come out and play this Saturday. Offensive line, a little banged up there as well. But everyone that's got those nicks and bruises, they're all expected to play this Saturday, so nothing that the coaching staff is worried about.
Sounds good. Sounds like the team has been playing healthy, and that's one of the keys to having a team that you can try and gain for the postseason, which it looks like this team has really got a very good shot at making the postseason for the first time in their history and making the postseason in a very tough Division III football. So I guess the next question for you is, you guys got one of the best defenses to lead you guys to a postseason berth. You got the third-ranked pass defense nationally. Not just within your conference, but third-ranked pass defense nationally in the country, and you are also ranked 9th in the nation in yards per game. I mean, total yards per game. That's impressive in top 10 categories nationally. What does that speak about you guys as a defensive staff and as players?
As a defensive staff, I'd say the biggest thing that reflects off of those rankings is that we come to practice every day prepared to teach our kids the right fundamentals on becoming a top-ranked defense. Even when I was playing there, one of the biggest focal points was being the best-ranked team in conference and then being ranked nationally. And that's continued through the past 3 to 4 years. So as a staff, we're very pleased with the young kids that we have on our team, how fast they're maturing. And then with the older guys stepping up and becoming leaders on the field, where they're able to take younger guys off to the side, watch film with them, and point out different things that they notice that we can react to on game days.
All right, well, that's like I said, I've heard a lot of good names coming through. Tyler Shane, Jason Kramer, they've been doing solid work in the secondary. Eric Zeitler's been doing a great job, and Gordon and Sam Boyd have been doing a phenomenal job on the edges, I'm sure. I mean, who's a standout player right now? Who are some guys that are garnishing first-team conference votes right now?
Right now, I would definitely put I would say linebacker core, you definitely have Zeitler. He's pretty much the captain of our defense. Middle linebacker, calls out all of our plays. He's a very smart person, not just on the football field, but off the football field as well, which makes him one of the better players on our team. I would go then with Jason Kramer, Tyler Shane. James Wheeler is having a great year at linebacker, which I'm really happy to see. His senior year hasn't had one of those big injuries hit him yet, which has kind of plagued him throughout his college career. He's playing really good right now. I would say definitely those four guys up front. Looking at first-team all-conference awards right now, and then we have a bunch of guys on our defense as well that are definitely going to get some type of all-conference awards, if not second-team honorable mention as well.
So we could be seeing when those awards and then those names be coming out, we can see a lot on the defensive side and probably the offensive side. We can see a lot of WLC names in the first team, second team, and honorable mentions of the NAC conference, right?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, offensive side, you're definitely going to be looking at Josh Patola. He's had, I believe it's around 9 touchdowns right now. I think he needs one more touchdown to tie a career record for touchdowns in school history. So he'll definitely be on the all-conference board. Offensive line, you got Dylan Applin, solid offensive lineman for us. Pat Harrington, running backs, and Mike Reeves. Donovan Tucker, he just needs to stay confident with himself, and I think he can get an all-conference award. Like you said, definitely at the end of the year, I'm gonna say you're gonna see a bunch of Wisconsin Lutheran College Warriors on the all-conference awards list.
Awesome, good stuff. Now I want to kind of get into, you guys had a big matchup 2 weeks ago against Concordia Chicago. Probably the conference favorite. They were the conference favorites this year. You guys are still controlling your own destiny, but how was the team able to respond against such a tough loss that Concordia Chicago was, and then respond so well against Aurora, in Aurora where, to be honest, the Warriors have not played well in Aurora at all in the 2 times that they've matched up out there?
First off, one of the biggest things that the team is going off of this year, which we started preaching about during training camp, is that not to think about conference championship or playoffs right away. I think that's the biggest thing that's hurt us in the past couple of years, is that we start talking about conference rings and playoffs, and season didn't even start yet. So the biggest thing we're talking about this year is finish and win. We're taking every single game by itself. We're treating each week as it is a Super Bowl week, where it's a must-win, because we know how tough our conference is, and pretty much the conference championship can go down to the last week of the season, where no one knows who's going to have it or not. So a lot of players this year, once we lost against Concordia Chicago, it bothered them for a couple of days. It bothered the coaching staff for a couple of days, but come Tuesday night for our practice, the mindset, we flipped the switch, and it was back to finish and win, where we know we had to come out strong against Aurora and finish the season off.
Absolutely, and tomorrow on Saturday, you guys got a big matchup at home against the Benedictine Eagles. They've notched their first conference win last week, but they have struggled and have not been the powerhouse that they have been in previous years. What has been the focus? Who are the players on Benedictine that you guys are keeping an eye on and that have been a focus for your game plan?
We have 2 main focuses on defense that we're going to focus on. First one is going to be their running back, Borsalino. He's been a standout stud for the past 2 or 3 years there. So he's definitely a focus that we have to pay attention to in the backfield. And then passing threat-wise, the wide receiver number 4. Can't remember his name, but he's got that deep threat possibility, which is one thing that we have to work on. And as a defense, we're kind of in a bend but not break system, where we'll give up, a short 5 to 10 yard route, but we preach a lot of not getting beat on the deep ball. So the 2 guys that we have to pay attention to come tomorrow is definitely going to be number 4, that we can't get beat on the deep ball, and then lock down Borsalino in the backfield, especially with Benedictine now switching up their offense of using him in the backfield. and then motioning him out to a slot receiver as well. So 2 main focuses will be those guys come tomorrow.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. I know I'll be following to make sure that you guys are doing work tomorrow against Benedictine. I wish you guys good luck against them. My next question, and then I want to get into, is that if you guys get past Benedictine tomorrow, your remaining schedule, Maranatha, Rockford, and then the big matchup for the Luther Cup against Concordia, Wisconsin, to finish off the season. An exciting way to finish the season. I think everyone's going to be jacked up for that. I know you don't want to look forward to it right now, considering you have Benedictine and still 2 games ahead of it. But do you guys, if you can get past Benedictine and you get past the rest of your schedule, do you think you guys will get garnished votes to be an outside, even though you didn't win your conference, to be a postseason team, even though you didn't win your conference?
Yeah, I believe it's definitely possible that we could get some type of attention just by seeing as the teams that are in our conference, by looking at the schedule they had for non-conference games this year, I think definitely gives us a boost and an opportunity to grab some attention going into the postseason if we would not happen to win our conference outright. But as you said, if we get past Benedictine this weekend, I'm not going to say Maranatha is a cakewalk because you never know what can happen any given Saturday. But we have Maranatha, Rockford, and then Concordia Mequon. And a lot of guys on the team, a couple guys on the coaching staff as well, definitely think that when we get to Concordia Mequon, if everything plays out into our favor, we could be playing for conference championship and the Luther Bowl. So that would be a huge weekend for us as long as we keep doing our thing. And first of all, we got to finish off Benedictine come tomorrow.
Absolutely, can't get ahead of yourself. And like I said, you guys definitely going to be on my radar, and definitely hoping that you guys can take care of business tomorrow, and then you guys take care of business. I'm really looking forward to the Luther Cup. I've always been part of that, and that's always been an exciting time around WLC. And just that rivalry is just a ton of fun. It's a young rivalry, and I know you've been a part of it, Chrome, and you've had your moments. I've seen the video. You pretty much laid out a guy from Mequon. So like I said, I know that rivalry is such a fun atmosphere, such a fun time for all the players. Just to wrap up real quick, Chrome, I know you're a Bucks fan, even though you're in Wisconsin. And as a fellow Bucks fan, they finally lifted the blackout. I know you're not going to be able to see it because they're probably going to be broadcasting the Packers game or some NFC North game. But what's your prediction for this Sunday's matchup against the Saints?
My prediction for Sunday is it kind of comes down to how our defense is working around at WLC. We got to shut down the passing game. The Buccaneers are looking pretty good this year. I got NFL Sunday ticket, so that definitely helps out a lot. Being like you said, up in Wisconsin, trying to watch my Buccaneers. But I think if we're able to shut down Drew Brees and that passing game, I think we have a great shot coming out with a victory on Sundays. I liked what we did last week against the Chiefs. I think we should start running the ball a little bit more, split up some carries between Doug Martin and LeGarrette Blount. I think that'd be a great 1-2 punch that Coach Schiano can start working with. I mean, we have deep threats with Vincent Jackson and Mike Williams. Underwood, signing him, I think we got a great wide receiver core. Our running backs, Josh Freeman, I think he's going to break out of his shell. Not in the slump anymore, hopefully. But yeah, we shut down Drew Brees in that Saints passing game. We got a good shot at coming out with a victory.
All right, I like those. I like to hear that because I'm excited as a Bucks fan, finally being able to see a Bucks game this Sunday. And I just got to ask you, what do you prefer in the Bucks? Do you like the throw when they go throwback when they bring out the creamsicle jerseys? Because I love it. I mean, even though I wasn't around for those times, but I mean, I'd like to see more creamsicle, a little more often during the season.
I do like it, and then it's a little bit of a mix-up. It shows, those weren't the greatest of days when we wore those jerseys, but I mean, every once in a while, you get a little throwback in there, a little mix-up in jerseys. I mean, personally, that's all it is. It's only a jersey, so you can't reflect, going back to the Buccaneers just because they're wearing the creamsicle. New team, new franchise that we're working with, new coaches. That's huge. I mean, let's do creamsicles. You know, we got Sunday night games, Monday night games. Let's do them all, do a little mix-up.
Absolutely. Well, Chrome, I appreciate your time. I wish you good luck tomorrow against Benedictine. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon about the WLC Warriors and Buccaneers football. Hopefully they'll get us W on Sunday. You have a good one, buddy.
You too, sir. Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem. Talk to you later, Coach. And that was Coach Justin Cromas from the Wisconsin Lutheran College Football Warriors. As he had the time to take out of his day to talk to me about the matchup against the Benedictine Eagles and a little bit about Bucs football. So I appreciate his time. Thank you again, Coach. Right now we're going to switch to baseball, postseason baseball. The Tigers beat up on the Yankees for 4 games. They swept them. New York is out of the playoffs. Everyone is looking for somebody to blame in New York. A-Rod is their guy to blame so far. That's who they've been blaming for all 4 of the losses so far, even though he's been benched. I got my baseball correspondent, Charlie Mathews, with me. Charlie, tell me what you think is going on with the Yankees. Is it fair to blame A-Rod for the Yankees' problems?
Well, we can't just blame A-Rod in general. Jeter got taken out for a broken ankle. So then with him, they benched Curtis Granderson. A-Rod's out. And we can't blame it all on A-Rod. I mean, he just had a terrible time to start going into a slump and not hitting. I mean, we all know he's a great player. He always has been. We all are going to have our downfalls, and just right now, he's just not doing the best right now. But between him getting out, Jeter, I don't say we can blame just A-Rod.
No, they had several guys, Nick Swisher, Cano, just Granderson in general. They all just weren't hitting very well. And, that's going to be a problem especially when you're in the ALCS. You got to be hitting the ball because you're going to be facing good pitching staff. So if you're in a slump, it's not really going to help when you're facing really good pitchers like Justin Verlander. CeCe didn't have a really great night last night. He was pretty much the ace for the Yankees. Even if the Yankees did win last night, I'm pretty sure that the Tigers were going to wrap this thing up. I don't see anybody, unless you had CeCe pitching every game for the Yankees, I don't see the Yankees winning this series. I don't think they had enough pitching, enough good starting pitching to defeat this Tigers lineup. But that gets us into the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers wrapped up their series back in 2006 against the A's early, and they had to wait a week. Now they may not wait as long, but they're going to be waiting a day or two for whoever comes out of the NL. As the Detroit Tigers, I like them as the favorites in the World Series, even though the NL won the All-Star game, so that means the Detroit Tigers are going to be playing on the road the first 2 games. I like the Tigers with their lineup and their pitching to go up against whoever they play, whether it's the Giants or the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers have really just come out and they've just kind of busted out of their shell, and they're just playing amazing ball right now. They're definitely going to give whoever's in the World Series a run for their money. Like, between the Giants and the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to overtake the Giants tonight at home because they have the home field advantage. Cardinals are playing some amazing ball right now. I mean, it's going to be a close game with the Detroit and the Cardinals because Detroit, they have amazing pitching right now, and their hitting is just key. Their power hitters are doing their job. They're hitting. That's what they're supposed to do, and they're doing an amazing job at it.
Absolutely. Their starting pitching in general, I mean, you talk about that. There's 62 innings so far in this postseason. Have only given up 7 runs. That is the kind of pitching you need to make a shot at a world championship like the Tigers are in position to get. So I definitely like the Tigers' chances. So let's go ahead and preview. We're talking about the NL already. The Giants have lost 2 straight games in St. Louis. They needed to take 1. I definitely thought to take the series back to San Francisco, but they've lost the first 2 in St. Louis. And the first game was a rain delay. They had a shot. San Francisco, when the scores are a little misleading, San Francisco has runners in scoring position, but they just haven't been able to get the hits when they're in that position to get them around the bases and get them at home. Do you think San Francisco can steal a game tonight and take it back to San Francisco?
I think there's always a shot. San Francisco, I mean, you can never take them out of the game because after the first game, it looked like the Cardinals were just going to overpower them in their game. But the second game, San Francisco played some amazing ball, and I think they definitely have another shot at doing it tonight. But with the Cardinals, their pitching has been so key. They've just been shutting out the San Francisco when they need it most. Like, It's just been a great series so far, but I think that the Cardinals are going to overtake them tonight, and then it's going to be Cardinals in Detroit in the World Series.
One of the things that, with the Cardinals, here's a message for the National League. If you want to get to the World Series, and if you're not the St. Louis Cardinals, don't let the St. Cardinals in the playoffs. It's just that simple. Just don't let these guys in the playoffs, okay? I don't care if they're a wild card team or if they lead the division. These guys seem to always defeat whoever they're playing in the playoffs. They get hot at the postseason. I don't know how they do it because they did the same thing last year. They pretty much backdoored into the wild card spot because Atlanta tanked, kind of like the Boston Red Sox did last year. And then they overtake the Milwaukee Brewers, who had a really great shot at going to the World Series. You can't let the Cardinals in the playoffs. And it's just they're just that scary. They figure out a way. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they do, but they always find a way to beat these teams. And it's just one hit here or one pitch there that just edges them out. And the Cardinals are possibly going, as defending World Series champions, they're going right back to it. And they're going to face a tough Tigers team. And as a wild card team that St. Louis is, they're going to be home for the first two games of the World Series, which is great confidence because they play so well in St. Louis at that stadium.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, the Cardinals, I don't know what happens, but as soon as postseason comes around, they just step out and they just start playing. Like a few months ago, who knew who Carpenter was? No one knew who Carpenter was. But now in the postseason, he's having the best games of his life. This is his year. I don't know what happened, but he's just playing amazing ball.
Yeah, and you would say the same thing about Matt Carpenter. I think that's who you're alluding to because Chris Carpenter was on the IR or on the disabled list for so long. Matt Carpenter goes in, replaces Carlos Beltran, and he hits a 2-run homer. I mean, these guys, Matt Carpenter is kind of turning into last year's David Freese. David Freese just went nuts hitting the ball, sending it out of the park, making contact, getting RBIs in. He was just able to do it all for the Cardinals and save them. And right now, Matt Carpenter is looking like that guy for the Cardinals right now to make that run. So it's a very interesting postseason. Just want to let some other news and notes go on. Obviously, Josh Hamilton's a big free agent this year. Some other teams have been coming in, possibly thinking about stealing him away from the Texas Rangers. Charlie, I want to know what are the chances that you think the Rangers will be able to re-sign him or want to re-sign him after just the lousy slump that he was in towards the end of the season? Because I've also heard reports that the Milwaukee Brewers might be making a big play for him come this offseason for Josh Hamilton.
I mean, Hamilton's always been a great player. I know that Texas has always been happy to have them. He did have kind of a not-so-great season this year, but, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Texas would go and push and try to get Hamilton back because I don't think that he's out. I mean, I just think he had a bad season. I think he's going to be able to recover from it. But I know that because of who he is, there are definitely going to be other teams trying to up Texas and try to get Hamilton. But I know Texas is going to do whatever it takes to try to get Hamilton back.
If they do, they'll be a great. They'll be one of the most dangerous teams in the AL. Charlie, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for all the postseason updates. We're going to look forward to talking next week and talking about the World Series as we will find out who will be in the lead for that when it comes down to next Friday. Charlie Mathews here talking with me, postseason baseball tonight, and we're looking forward to his report next week as they get ready for the World Series. Charlie, thank you for your time, buddy.
Yeah. Anytime, Knock.
All right, thanks, Charlie. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break from the podcast. I got more coming up. We're talking college football, big games, K-State versus West Virginia, Florida versus South Carolina. I've got my special guest, Austin Beard, with me. But first, we're going to talk about high school football with Kim, and we're going to be talking about the season preview for the Orlando Magic and the world champion Miami Heat. Be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Got some exciting stuff for you. We're going to be talking about the season previews for the Orlando Magic and the defending world champion Miami Heat. First, let's start with the Magic. Magic fans, I got hope for you. I got hope. We may be destined this year to be a non-competitive team or a non-playoff team, but I can tell you, I think the future is going to look bright after this season. The Orlando Magic finally got rid of the pain in the butt, Dwight Howard. The Dwight Mayer is over. He's in L.A. He got what he wanted. And, he left Orlando fans with a lot of bad taste in their mouth. And so now the Orlando Magic are going to try and rebuild, even though the organization has not exactly used the R word. Rob Hennigan, the new GM, Vaughn, the new head coach, a lot of new things, new faces in Orlando. As a Magic fan, it's going to be tough this season. It really is. We're hoping for a competitive team. I think they can do. I think they can be competitive. I think with Jameer Nelson leading the way, I think they got a lot of spark for this team. A lot of good young players. I like the direction they're going. We're going to be in the lottery. It's just that simple. There's no way to really look around it. We're going to be in the lottery draft, and I think, to be honest with you, you want to be in the lottery draft at this point when you're at the stage that the Orlando Magic are in at this point in their franchise. I've looked at some projected records, 13-69. Other teams gave them, 5 more wins, 18 wins. It's going to be within that ballpark. I don't think the Magic are going to be as bad as the Charlotte Bobcats. They're not going to finish in the bottom of the Southeast Division. I think they're going to, be competitive with a lot of teams. I think they're going to give Miami a run for their money because they play so much. They might be able to steal one early on in the season. But I definitely think as the time goes on, the team it's just going to take a wear because the good teams are going to come out, make playoff runs, and the Orlando Magic are pretty much just going to be seen on the schedule as a W. So this team's got to take advantage of that. But I like the future. Right now it looks bleak, it looks dark, and Magic fans, unfortunately, all we have is right now, and right now just doesn't look that bright. But the future does look good. Cap space will be available come next summer and the year after and the year after that. They get a $17 million trade exception that they could use at any point this season. They could use it for a trade. They could maybe get another lottery pick from a team, or they could try and attract a free agent like Monte Ellis next summer. So there's some wiggle room. There's a lot of cap space from reports that I've heard in 2015 and 16. They'll have anywhere to wiggle with around $34 million in cap space. So the Orlando Magic are going to have money. I think it's going to set it up for them to add pieces down the road, and if they can get within the lottery draft, I think this season they will be, and probably the following next season, they're probably going to be deep in the lottery, ahead of it, hopefully, and we'll get some good players. And I don't think we should expect to see the Oklahoma City model. I mean, we're going to have the model in place, but the results I don't think are going to be the same. I think it's very tough to hit the jackpot twice, if you will. Hennigan was a part of the process in Oklahoma City. I don't think that's going to happen twice, but you know what? You can create your own brand in Orlando, and I think there's a way for Orlando to once again get back to the finals, get back atop the East. And right now is not a bad time. Chicago and Miami are going to be duking it out. Brooklyn's probably going to be a part of the mix. You never really can count out Boston. The Knicks are going to continue to try and get better. So right now, maybe this isn't such a bad time. The East is weak right now, but at the end of this thing, when LeBron and the Heat are gotten up in years, the Orlando Magic can surge back. So I think it's a very interesting matchup. I think Orlando Magic fans, you just got to be patient. I like where they're going. The previous regime, GM Otis Smith tried to accommodate Dwight Howard as much as he could by trade and free agent. It just wasn't working out. Bringing back Hito was a mistake. He wasn't doing anything. The previous teams before he left Orlando, Vince Carter was a really bad move. I thought that they traded away a couple of good pieces for Carter. I didn't think he was really a good start or good fit for the Magic. So I think there were some moves that cost them, and it's kind of like the Cleveland situation. There were moves that cost them big when it came to LeBron. So Hennigan has to attempt to get himself out of this mess, especially with all the contracts and all the money that's locked into some of these players. With the trade, he was able to get rid of a lot of that money. In a couple years, he'll be able to continue to clean house. So it'll be very interesting, to say the least. I like where they're headed, though. Obviously they didn't get an optimal return. I think a lot of people are giving Hennigan a lot of crap for it. But you know what? Nobody was going to get real... Orlando wasn't going to be able to get real return for Dwight Howard. And I think that's just something Orlando fans, we got to accept. We weren't going to get the value. It stinks, but and I think with the package, with what we got, is exactly is a very decent package. Yes, they're late first round picks, but you never know. You can package those together and get into the lottery part of the first round. There's a lot of moves that can be made here, and so I think that's what we got to keep in mind, Magic fans, is that there's a lot of wiggle room for Hennigan to get there, and I think he's shown that he took the best deal on the table. If you take Brooks Lopez and you take some of the deals that were being offered beforehand, you didn't allow Orlando to fall down on their face, and I think that's what Orlando needed when they traded Dwight. They needed to fall completely, just implode the roster and try to rebuild, because Brooks Lopez and adding a couple players, great. Now we're stuck in no man's land like the Milwaukee Bucks have been in the past few years in the Atlanta Hawks. They're just good enough to get into the playoffs sometimes, and they're just not bad enough to get into the lottery. So I think the Orlando Magic need to get into the lottery, get some really good basketball players. The drafts are getting deeper. So I think there's a lot of potential for Rob Hennigan to pick some really good players and for Orlando to get back on their winning ways. So as we talk about the Orlando Magic, we're going to move south to Miami, South Beach, where LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh and company look to defend their world championship. LeBron has finally axed his monkey. He's gotten the monkey off his back, and they have now they got the ring. So now the momentum continues. Okay, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. All right, now we got to see some more rings, and it'll be a very interesting season for the Heat, because a lot last year, after the debacle and the collapse that they had in the finals the year before, a lot of it was just pure hunger and pure determination. And LeBron, the question is will he have that determination again? Will he have the same hunger? Will that team have the same hunger? It's very tough to repeat as champion, because you've already accomplished it. The hunger, that's the number one factor, I think, in every time, besides injuries, obviously. But I think the hunger factor really plays a part, and so that's going to get very interesting, I think, for the Heat. Injury-wise, can they stay healthy? Ray Allen, they picked up, great addition for the Heat, another perimeter threat for them, as well as Rashard Lewis. Both guys can come off the bench. The thing, though, is injuries. Well, Ray Allen's not 100%. Dwayne Wade's not 100%. Chris Bosh has had injury issues. There's a lot of things there that could go wrong for the Heat, and it could allow them to kind of slip up at times during the season. So I think the biggest thing is how well the Miami Heat manage injuries, and that's going to be the biggest thing for them. So I think the Miami Heat got a lot of good things going forward. I think that right now they're going to need to take advantage of Derrick Rose being out right now for Chicago. Chicago still got not a long way, but even if they get Rose back, you don't know what kind of shape he'll be in. I know he's working hard right now, but a knee injury is so tough to tell, because you've seen it where it works out for the player, and you've seen it at times where it just destroys a player because of the injury. So you really don't know the response. So I like Miami, their chances of repeating in the finals. Boston is going to be a tough team. I just don't think they have enough firepower to match with the Heat. Brooklyn, I don't think they're ready yet. The Knicks could be, if they get things together and if they can get everything straightened out with them, with Carmelo and Tyson Chandler and all those guys. I think if they get things worked out and they can not have distractions off the court, they'll be fine. So I like the Miami Heat to repeat in the finals. Will they win? I don't know. I don't think they will. I think the West will see a rebound this year between Oklahoma City or the LA Lakers. So I like the Heat to return as Eastern Conference champions to the finals. They'll have a good season. I think they'll have a few slip-ups here and there, but that's going to happen to any team. If they can manage injuries really well, then I definitely think they'll be ready for a great postseason push. The key is, like I said, is they got a lot of older players. Can they keep their guys healthy, especially when it comes down to postseason time? So those are my NBA season previews. I got the Miami Heat going to the finals, and I got the Orlando Magic going to the front of the NBA lottery draft. Up next, we're going to switch categories. We're going to be talking about some of the big college football games for this weekend. Austin Beard joins me right now. We're going to be talking about the Florida-South Carolina game, big matchup in the SEC East. Austin, what do you got for me?
Thanks, everybody. Yep, you heard it. Number 2, Florida. Number 9, South Carolina in the swamp. I think Florida's defense is looking pretty good, but their cornerback, Cody Riggs, is out this week with a foot injury, and I think that's going to really hurt him. I think they need to keep the pressure on Connor Shaw, and I think if they keep the pressure on him and make him run out of the pocket, I think they'll do good.
Alrighty, Austin. I think, like I said, I think that the Florida Gators are a good team. They definitely are. They're a big second half team. So the question is can Steve Spurrier's team weather the storm in the second half? Obviously, the matchup is going to be whether South Carolina's offense can outmaneuver the defense. Will Muschamp has done a great job with that defense. So the key will obviously be pressure. And pressuring Connor Shaw and making him feel really, really uncomfortable. LSU kind of did a good job of that last week. But I think the other thing is, too, is we got to talk about is Jeff Driscoll, the quarterback, and the running game for the Florida Gators. What do you got for me on that front?
Last week, Jeff Driscoll, he ran for 177 yards, breaking the Florida Gators record over Tim Tebow. And right now, he's averaging about 66.7% in completion, and he does not like to turn the ball over. He's only had 1 interception this year, that's really good numbers right there.
Absolutely. His percentages have gone up. I think he's done a great job of taking care of the ball in the passing game, which is key. LSU had a lot of success last week running the football, so I think this really plays into Jeff Driscoll's strength. A lot of people have saying that, they haven't seen him make a big pass yet. I don't think he has to. I think that might come next week when they play Georgia. But with South Carolina's defense, they gave up a lot of yards last week to LSU's running backs. I think Florida will take advantage of that. I think he'll have a big day running. Gillespie will have a big day running. So I think Florida's offense is going to be running the football, and you're really going to see it work in the second half. I don't know what it is, but this team is always a second-half team, Austin.
I think that second half, that explains them. They come out really sluggish and slow first half, but something clicks second half, and they just come out booming.
Absolutely. Will Muschamp is doing a great job with that team. Steve Spurrier is no slouch either. I think South Carolina, they're still going to be a very good team. I think this is definitely going to be a great game. It's going to be close. With Florida's rushing attack, I just like them a little bit more than I like South Carolina, especially because Marcus Lattimore is going to be out for this game.
Yeah, and I think that's going to really kill him as Lattimore. I think that's just going to hurt him a lot.
With Marcus Lattimore being out, he was pretty much their running game, their rushing attack. They've got some good backups, but I don't know if those guys are going to be enough because Marcus Lattimore is such a big back and he could take a lot of hits. But we're going to move on from the University of Florida in the swamp. We're going to Kansas State versus West Virginia. We're going to be hitting up Morgantown with West Virginia at home after a disappointing loss to unranked Texas Tech. And Texas Tech didn't beat them, Austin. They waffle stomped West Virginia last week.
Yep. I think West Virginia. I think their defenses doesn't look good at all. Actually, they
haven't looked good all season, and they looked horrible against a Texas Tech team that we didn't really hear about until last week.
In the nation, they're the eighth worst defense, in big part because it has the third worst pass defense in major college football, allowing nearly 400 yards per game.
Wow. If I'm a quarterback and I can see the West Virginia defense, I'm smiling. As Klein, I'm sure is, for Kansas State. But West Virginia fits the mold for Big 12. It's a conference of all you do is throw and you put up huge passing numbers because there is no defense. So West Virginia fits really well in the Big 12 because, let's face it, last week, too, Texas gave up 63 points to Oklahoma. I don't know how that was possible, but Texas gave up that many points. So once again, I prove the Big 12 never plays defense. But it should be an interesting matchup with Kansas State and West Virginia. I like Kansas State. They're highly ranked. Coach Schneider is going to have them doing well and playing well. So I expect them to continue their winning ways. And I think West Virginia, they're going to hit another roadblock. Texas Tech kind of laid out the blueprint for beating Geno Smith, who is really the guy you got to beat, because if you make him feel uncomfortable and you force him to make some errant throws or throws he doesn't want to make, he's going to have a rough day.
Yeah. Plus, I think that one thing that's really going to help West Virginia is their quarterback, Smith. He's averaging about 79.3 completion, and he has 0 interceptions for this season.
Geno Smith's still a great quarterback. Great matchup this week with K-State and West Virginia. So I like the direction those guys are. I like this game a lot. It's time for the college football picks. Austin and I will be competing every week. 5 games in college football. A lot of them top 25 games. So we'll definitely be picking those, and we'll be comparing records. At the end of the season, we'll see who comes out on top. We'll see if I'm a mad genius or if he is. So, Austin, Texas A&M over LSU, or Texas A&M versus LSU. I have Texas A&M.
I have LSU because I think LSU is just too big and strong for them.
Alrighty. Upset for me, I think Iowa State defeats Oklahoma State.
I agree with you. I pick Oklahoma State all the way.
You disagree with me because I picked Iowa State over Oklahoma State.
Oh.
All the words, buddy. Come on. All right, so after that mix-up, we got Florida over South Carolina. I got Florida over South Carolina.
Actually, I agree with you because, Florida all the way.
Alrighty. Kansas, I have Kansas State over West Virginia.
I have Kansas State too. Yep.
Alrighty. And a big matchup in Florida. We have FSU and Miami. This rivalry is always a good defensive rivalry. Hard-hitting. It was a hard-hitting one, especially in the early 2000s. I think we're starting to see the rivalry and that kind of rivalry come back with Golden and Fisher at the helm of both programs. Both really solid defenses and both that really get after you. I think FSU wins this game. Miami's got a lot of good young players. I don't think they're ready, though. I think FSU beats Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Miami and young players because I think they have a lot of freshmen and sophomores, so I think FSU will pull this one out.
Absolutely. So, Austin, you have LSU, Oklahoma State, Florida, K-State, and FSU as your picks for this weekend, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I've got Texas A&M, Iowa State, Florida, K-State, and FSU. Should be a great matchup. We'll talk about this next Friday to see who comes out on top. Clearly, him or I will by next Friday. So that wraps up college football. I would like to say thank you to Kim Kaminsky and Austin Beard for joining me on the podcast today, bringing a lot of great information, and I appreciate their help this week. We'll talk to them next Friday. Guys, thanks a lot for your help today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Now we're going to move to the NFL. I'm not going to have any really preview games this week. I'll have my picks in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about the state of the Cleveland Browns ownership change. Mike Holmgren is out as the president for the Cleveland Browns. I think this was a smart decision. I don't think Mike Holmgren was a very good player personnel. I don't like the players that he's brought in. He changed staffs again. For whatever reason, Cleveland keeps getting a shift change, and it's always when they actually start getting the players to play well. Under Eric Mangini, they were starting to get some momentum. They were playing well at the end of the season, but Holmgren fired him and brought him in his own guy, and Pat Shurmur has really shown no hope for this team to move forward. He hasn't done so yet. They just picked up their first win last weekend. I just don't like the decisions Holmgren's made. I mean, it just hasn't worked out, and I think it's better now. I think with the new ownership, bringing in Banner who was the president for the Eagles for the longest time, making decisions. I think he's going to make a lot of smart decisions for the Cleveland Browns, and I like the direction they're going to be headed. I think Pat Shurmur is going to be out as head coach. I don't know why besides the fact that Mike Holmgren knew him, I don't think Pat Shurmur deserved to be a head coach in the NFL. I don't know what he did. He didn't do anything that really lit anything up. I mean, he got St. Louis to respectability with their offense and really got Sam Bradford going, but they were still 7-9 or 6-10, and they still had a losing record. So Pat Shurmur as the head coach the last 2 seasons, not really sure what warranted it besides Mike Holmgren and Shurmur having close ties and Shurmur being Holmgren's guy. Clearly hasn't worked out. So like I said, I think those guys are going to be gone. I think Cleveland's going to be under another shift change. I think they're going to be 2 or 3 years down the road. But I like where Cleveland's going. They got a really good president and a really good owner. I think Cleveland fans, you're going to have to wait a little longer, even though you've been waiting for a decade, to get to sniff the playoffs again and get back to playing good Cleveland Brown football. I think you got a couple more years left before we start seeing that, but I think the future has turned bright for the city of Cleveland. So it should be very interesting going forward. Up next, the debacle that was Monday night. San Diego, just 24 points at halftime. Up 24-0 over the Peyton Manning Broncos. Apparently, no lead is safe with that man. Peyton Manning comes back and really beats up San Diego. San Diego was just a complete debacle. I think the final nail, or I think it's been the nail has been hammered into Coach Turner's coffin. I think he'll be let go at the end of the season. I don't see San Diego really recovering from this. And I should know because Tampa Bay had this same thing happen to them on Monday Night Football the year after they won the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning comes into Tampa Bay. They're up big, and he comes back, scores 21 points in under 4 minutes, and he defeats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Bucs were never the same after that season. They finished the season 7-9, and they could. I think if they would have won that game, I think Tampa Bay could have easily been back into the playoffs that year. They had the team, they had the defense. But when you lose a game like that, when you give up, when you're leading by that much and then you lose that game, and you lose it in a half, as a team, that's tough to recover from. It's very difficult. Tampa Bay never recovered from it. San Diego is already a team that was struggling. It wasn't like they were playing great football to start out with. So they were struggling as it were. Phillip Rivers is still having turnover problems. The offense got going in the first half, but sputtered out in the second half. San Diego, they let it release. No one know, or this is their PR guy. Everyone needs time to take a chill pill. No one knows what will happen this season, yet alone the next game. That's the beauty of the National Football League. I disagree. I mean, when you lose it's different when you lose a close game or when you lose a game when you're up by 10. You're up by 24 points. You should win this ball game. When you lose this game and you let a team come back on you from a 24-point deficit, that's very tough to get over. I don't know if San Diego can. I don't think San Diego's making the playoffs. I think Turner gets kicked out as head coach. I think it's time for a change. San Diego fans have been clamoring for it for a couple years. He's gotten a lot more leeway than Marty Schottenheimer did, and Marty Schottenheimer had his team playing well. They didn't lose these kind of games. So like I said, Turner's out, I think, as head coach. I think San Diego's going to be looking for a new guy. Should be very interesting to see how these things unfold. But I've seen this before. I've seen this happen to a team that was promising. I think they could have gone to the playoffs, if not the Super Bowl again, back in 2003 in the Bucs. But Peyton Manning destroyed them, and they never recovered from it, finishing 7-9 and not making the playoffs. And I expect San Diego to not make the playoffs. I don't know how their record will look. I'm going to say probably 6-10, 7-9, maybe 8-8 at best. But I think with this game, San Diego's in a lot of trouble, a lot of hurt, and Norv Turner, I think you're looking at your last season in San Diego. But to higher notes, I'm going to start picking games for the NFL this weekend. I was talking to Coach Cromas early on in the podcast, and we were talking about Tampa Bay. Josh Freeman exploded last week for over 300 yards passing. I like Tampa Bay over New Orleans. In Tampa Bay, the throwback uniforms are out this week. I'm really excited. Tampa Bay over New Orleans is my upset pick. Indy over Cleveland. I think Andrew Luck responds well after the drumming that they took from the Jets last week. Minnesota over Arizona. Christian Ponder and the Vikings get the ship righted against the Cardinals, and they get their winning ways back together, and that defense recovers from the RG3 attack they took last week. And another pick, Detroit over Chicago. I don't know what kind of Jay Cutler or Chicago Bear team we're going to get this week. I like the momentum Detroit has right now, being able to beating the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they got some momentum heading into this game, and I think the Detroit is Calvin Johnson will have a big game. He'll finally break out. He had another 100-yard game last week against the Eagles. So I expect more from him this week. I expect a couple touchdowns, and I think they're starting to get the running game going with LaShore at running back, and I think they're going to have some balance finally. Defensively, they still got a lot to work on, but I don't know. Jay Cutler can throw picks, and that could make things interesting. So my picks, again, Tampa Bay over New Orleans, Indianapolis over Cleveland, Minnesota over Arizona, and Detroit over Chicago in the Monday night game. Like I said, folks, you can catch me on Twitter at the Knock On Sports, at Knock On Sports. You can like my Facebook group and follow all the podcasts and all the posts that I have and my blog at the Knock On Sports Facebook. You can also listen to me tonight on the Friday Night Locker Room, 89.3 FM and 90.3 FM, 89.3 in Northern Brevard, 90.3 in Southern Brevard. Tonight we'll be in Cocoa for the Jones Tigers and the Cocoa Tigers. Like I said, a fun game tonight. So listen on the radio if you can't get to a home game or if your team is out of town. So like I said, guys, exciting. I want to thank all my guests, Justin Cromas, Charlie Mathews, Austin Beard, and Kim Kaminsky for their time today and their information. So like I said, guys, you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the sports this weekend. Great baseball, football action. And I will see you next Friday. This is Knock On Sports. I'm knocking out.